Ben Duarte, I'm so excited to have you on my podcast today. It's been probably 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I am one of those believers that everything happens for a reason. I feel like we connected really well 15 years ago. So well that I invited you. You had to remind me that you were one of the attendees at my 5 mindfulness trainings at Deer Park Monastery in San Diego when I was really, really studying Buddhism a lot. That's how much you meant to me. That's how much we connected. And then life happened. And for whatever reasons, we went in different places. I think you
Yeah,
went back to Brazil. I went to Los Angeles, but we're back. We're connected.
yeah, which is awesome.
It's so awesome. And how I first met you is because you were a professional photographer at the time and still are. I think
hmm
you were also in the world of art directing and, editing and production. And are there any other things that you're currently doing now? Because I know you wear multiple hats.
I do. Um, I own a business that provides services in photography, video, and design for clients. So I'm still in the creative world, differently than it was before working for an agency as an art director, but really expanding the services. So it's been fun.
That's cool. And you're currently based out of Texas, is that right?
That's correct, in Dallas.
In Dallas. And we
Yeah.
met when we were both in San Diego.
hmm
And so it's funny because when we chatted the other day and just kind of catching up on life, we just started talking about some pretty deep topics very
Right.
naturally. One of them was death. And I have to ask you, and just to bring everybody up to speed so they know what we're talking about, I think the conversation started off, we were talking about dementia.
Right.
And you had personal experience with this. One of your family members is experiencing this. Can you talk about that if you don't mind?
Yeah, no, my aunt has been going through her journey in dementia. And a couple of weeks ago, we found out that she was having trouble swallowing food and drinks. So she started getting aspirations, and she was actually taken to the hospital because of pneumonia. And they decided that the best course of action for her was to put her in hospice. So this past weekend, the whole family got together to be there for her. And in a way, we don't know how long it will be. So we kind of got together to say our goodbyes.
When we talked just a few days ago, it was before the weekend. It was literally right before you were getting ready
Yeah,
to go essentially put her into hospice. Is that right?
yeah, that's correct.
So I know that there's a lot of emotions wrapped around that, and I wanted to make sure that I let you know that I'm sensitive to that.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about you. I know that it
Thank
could be
you.
emotionally tough. And that's when we started talking about our views on death. What is your view on death?
Let's go a little bit before talking about death. I think my philosophy has always been that we all have this inner light, and in this inner light, it beams out, and it beams out as you plant good seeds in the world, or in the relationships that you have, whether that's a personal relationship or a work relationship. The more you put out this positive energy, this gratitude for your daily life, the more this light beams and then stronger it gets. So this inner light is connected to everything that you do, and it can brighten or darken as you go through life and your experiences are happening. The more on the red wheel that you're running and not thinking or not being present in the moment, the more I think this light starts to diminish. The more you can stay present, the more you can stay engaged with what you're doing at that moment, whether it's talking to a friend or doing something for somebody, the more I think this light starts to brighten. And that's been the case with my aunt. Always thinking of others, always trying to do the best that she could for her family. So that light has always been very bright. And as she's going through this moment, you start, having the memories of everything that has passed. So when it comes to death, um, in and this is a personal view. I don't think everybody needs to take what I'm saying as what is right or what is wrong. It's more for me, all those moments that you have with someone, all those seeds or lessons that you learn from them, that you pass on to others, that is them living through you. So when it comes to death, my view is that you don't die. You go to another stage, but you're always present in everybody that you touch, everybody that's been with you. So that's kind of how I see it. And it's hard for me in those environments because I understand the sadness. I understand the pain as we are in this material level. It's hard to let go. It's hard to say, I'll see you soon, because you start having to deal with your own mortality. You have to kind of see this is temporary. We're here for a blink of an eye. So at the same time that I think it's very sad and hard to let go, if you take that approach that we're going to meet again while we're not together physically, spiritually, we are. I was very close to my grandparents, and when they passed, every moment that I wanted to reconnect with them, it was just a moment of silence, a moment of remembering that feeling, and they were back with me. So I think that's what it is for me.
I love that. And there were that moment when you said they don't die, they
Hmm.
live on through the people that they've impacted. I feel that that's really beautiful. And I knew in my body that that's correct. At least it is for me. I feel that because I've had one person so far in my life pass away, and this person meant a great deal to me. They weren't even my family, they were a friend. And I just remember feeling this person and I, his name was Guy, we talked about our personal goals and basically letting our light, like you referred, let it shine. We talked very spiritually together, and we always
Hmm.
made sure to let each other know that we loved each other and that we were rooting for each other. And so when he passed, yes, it was sad, but also I felt like I had the best relationship with this man, and his light was so bright when he left this earth.
Hmm.
And some of his light is still with me, and I carry that for him, and I know that his family does too, and all of the souls that he impacted. I'm wondering, where did you come up with this idea? Who did you learn it from when you say that we all have this, we're all born with this light inside of
My
us?
dad, my dad, I think he, from a very early age, I remember he worked a ton. Like he would go to work in the morning, he would come home, we would eat dinner, and then he would go back to his little office and work and work and work. And it was always funny because I had to, anything that I wanted to talk to my dad, I had to go through my mom. I want to go on a trip with my friends, or I need money for this, or, and she would be the go in between us because he was always so busy. And when my parents divorced, I was with my dad for about a year and a half before I moved to the States. And we really connected then. It was that moment of me meeting my dad really for the first time. And on the weekends we would go to nature. He would take me every weekend. He's like, "Hey, let's go hiking," and we would sit in the hills in Rio in the forest, and we would just talk. And that's when this concept of understanding where he was coming from spiritually really came to life. He grew up in a small town up in the mountains in Rio, and he actually went back there for his retirement. Understanding where he was coming from, this connection with nature was always so strong for him. That seed that you plant in someone that flourishes. And that was it. It was on the connection with nature to the inner light. So I think that's kind of where it all started.
How old were you when your parents divorced?
Um, 17.
You were 17,
Yeah.
and you lived with your father for about a year and a half
Hmm.
before
Before
moving
I
to the
came.
States.
Yeah.
You met your father for the first time, in a sense, when you
Yeah.
were almost,
An adult. Yeah.
an adult, because 17 is like, it's borderline, but I feel like 17 is still very young.
Well, here's the difference. I think 17 in Brazil is different than 17 here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you grow up a lot faster or you mature a lot faster in Brazil just because everybody's working. It's a different life. You're in the world a lot faster. You're not in the parents' bubble, if you will, a lot faster.
You're forced to grow up quicker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I see. Were your parents religious or were they more spiritual?
Uh, At the time that I was growing up, the Catholic religion was the main religion in Brazil. I don't think it is anymore. I think it's been replaced by Christians. But Brazil is different because let's say Brazil is a melting pot of religions. You've got your African religions that came to Brazil. You've got spiritualism, which is really kind of deals with spirits and the soul. You have your Catholic, your Christians, and this kind of all gets blended in. For example, New Year's Eve in Brazil is a huge party. Everybody, no matter what religion you're from, dresses up in white, goes to the beach, throws a rose to the ocean, to the goddess from the African religion to welcome the new year. It really is kind of a different approach. So my parents were, I would say we didn't go to church every Sunday, but they brought us up in the Catholic religion, but they were more spiritual than your devout Catholic,
Do
for
you
sure.
find that your way of looking at life is more similar to other folks who grew up in Rio, or do you feel like you're just unique?
Well, I just feel like it's a blended. My mom's family being from Texas and my dad's family being from Brazil, I kind of grew up with both cultures. So that gave me a different perspective in looking at the reality in Brazil and looking at the reality here. I kind of understand both cultures and I'm able to see it from a different perspective.
I'm really curious if there's one culture you prefer. And if it's more of like, there are some things I prefer about the American culture over the Brazilian culture and vice versa. And if so, what are they?
Oh, that's interesting. There is definitely a warmth in the Brazilian culture, which can be to an American going to Brazil, they can either embrace it and love it, or they can feel a little bit, where's my personal space? Because if you don't set boundaries, there is no personal space. You know,
How do
everybody
you set boundaries in that case? Like, can you give me an example?
I think you just need to be yourself. I think everybody respects that, where you're not trying to fake it. It's common in Brazil to give, you meet someone and you give two kisses and you hug. We're big huggers, you know? So it might throw you off if you're not used to that. When I say boundaries, just say it. Hey, I'm not comfortable with this,
Back
which is
up,
hard.
back up.
Back up, yeah. Uh, so there's the warmth of the Brazilian culture that I think comes from maybe because of economic hardships, or it comes from neighbors really enjoying the party in Brazil is, I don't know, contagious. You're doing a barbecue at home, you call your neighbor, hey, come on in. And then the party gets more fun and it just becomes, I don't know. So there's that. There's the warmth that I really think it's contagious. I think if you allow yourself to embrace it, you will see that your personal space and your privacy is important, but not so much. It's almost like don't take things so seriously because once you let the guard down, you're able to make stronger connections. If
Yeah, that's
that
a good
makes
point. It does.
and that's where I've felt that it's harder to make connections in the US.
I was going to ask you that. Are
Yeah,
we not as warm?
I lived in Hawaii for 2 years. When I got there, I felt like there was a wall because I was from the mainland and I was invading their space, basically. And I remember I was working at an agency and I had a copywriter from Hawaii that was working with me, and he said, just give it time. Once you break through, you will never experience friendship as you will experience in Hawaii. They will bring you into their family and you will become family, and that's what it is. Like I think In the States, it's the same thing. It takes a little bit longer. One, because everybody's busy, everybody's going after certain things. So it takes a little bit longer for you to connect. But once you do, the warmth is there. It's just, again, personal space, privacy, fear of what the other might think if I say something or if I act a certain way. It's a little bit more reserved,
It is a
if
little
you
more
will.
reserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
In going to Rio for the first time just a couple of weeks ago, I felt the warmth immediately.
Hmm.
I didn't feel it so much more than I do in the States, and I think that's because of who I am.
Right.
When I'm walking out and about in my neighborhood in Los Angeles, I smile at people, I
Hmm.
wave, I make
Right.
eye contact. I haven't always been that way. Most of my life, I've not been that way, but I've decided like that's how I want to show up in this world. So
Hmm.
I totally get what you're saying when you say that Rio is Brazil in general is very warm. I totally understand that. But I think a lot has to do with how you show up in the world as well.
Right. Right. And I guess Brazilians in general show up that way.
In general, I think they do.
You go to a bar and you're having, a beer with friends. All of a sudden, the table next to you will start jumping in, and all of a sudden it becomes a bigger table, and you're like, how'd that happen? I just met another 10 people, that I had never met before. All of a sudden they're coming to your house for a barbecue. So it's kind of like, it is a big party for sure.
I think isn't the word that describes that in Rio called carioca?
Yeah, so if you're born in Rio, you're karaoke.
Mm-hmm. And I
Yeah.
think that also means like you've adopted the lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can move to Rio and become a karaoke, If you're born there, you're obviously just part of it. But I think that's what it is. It's a culture that's very welcoming to anybody that shows respect for the city, for the people, and understands that it's not where you're coming from, and you're gonna have to adapt.
I think that Hawaii is very similar in that way.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
for
you're
sure.
you're spot on because I also lived in Hawaii when I was a little girl. It also helps that I look like them. Well, if you have any kind of Asian, Portuguese blood and
Hmm.
you look or Puerto Rican, then you are more easily accepted as like brother
Right.
or sister. But I think you definitely have to earn their trust. I think that's why I like that so much. And it's not just an immediate welcome, because to
Hmm.
me, that would be fake.
Right.
I'm similar to the Hawaiian culture where it's like, you need to earn my trust. I don't just give it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, what I'm wondering now is what do you like better about American culture versus Brazilian culture?
When we talk about warmth in Brazil and we talk about warmth in the US, because you have to earn the trust, because you have to put some effort into it, I think the bonds are stronger. Where sometimes in Brazil there's just it's very superficial, in the beginning. It takes time for that bond to grow on both sides, but I think there's an element of stronger bond here. Or maybe, I don't know.
I'm
I feel,
following you.
yeah, I kind of feel that way with the friends that I've built over the years here. They're in my life 100%. The friends that I've had in Brazil, some have kind of moved away, and if you don't put an effort into maintaining that relationship, it kind of dissipates,
I think that's true for any friendship.
Hmm.
Whether they're, your newer friends that you made in the States or your old childhood friendships, it's always going to require effort.
Right, right,
I'm hoping by us reconnecting that we are strengthening our friendship.
for
And
sure.
then whether we decide to keep going with that is on us, but it's the amount of effort you decide to put in there. I think that the
Hmm.
paths that people take are very interesting too, because going back to how we started this conversation, I feel that everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why when I went to Rio, right before I went, I thought, oh my God, Ben's from Rio.
I gotta, I got,
I have to call him for some reason. I'm like excited to tell him. I haven't talked to
yeah.
him in 15 years, but I'm thinking of him because you left me with a good feeling. Like I have a good
Hmm.
impression of who you are. And I just think that's really interesting when you talk about the light shining. So I want to circle back to our idea of death. And I told you that, I'm sorry that what you're going through with your aunt. I know that it
Thank
must
you.
be hard emotionally. And you started talking about how you don't fear death. Did I
Right.
get that right? Did you say that?
Yeah. Well, here's how I would put it. There are things in life that we kind of plan to do, or we aim to achieve as you go through life, and I remember when I was graduating from art direction school, I had this brilliant mentor in advertising, and the last day we did a portfolio review, and she looked at it. She's like, "Ben, you're ready." And I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm planning to do this, do this, do this, do this." And we were at a bar, and she reached out, she grabbed a napkin, and she wrote something, and she folded, and she's like, "Carry this with you. Don't read it now." I'm like, "Okay." So the party ended, everybody went home, and I got home, and I completely forgot. I put my hand in my pocket, and the napkin was there. And I opened it up, and it said, "Man plans, God laughs."
Say it again.
Man plans and God laughs. That's what she wrote on the napkin. Because I was talking about all these plans, and there was this moment of like, this is what I need to give to him. And it made so much sense as, I was going through life, that whether you believe in God or the universe or spiritual connection or whatever it is, so many times in my life where I was going this way, and all of a sudden something took me in a completely different direction. Change happens, and you can deal with change in two ways. Either you can just throw your hands up and be like, "I can't believe this is happening," or you can just be like, "Wow, okay, where is this taking me now?" And embrace it. I think as a kid embraces something new in school, or a new marker set, or a painting set that they get, and you feel that excitement when they get it, or a new toy. And that's kind of how I go through life. So fear of death, no, I don't think I fear death. Do I still have a lot of things that I want to accomplish and see through? Yes. Death is a funny thing where we put our guardrails. Oh, I'm not going to do that because it's dangerous, or I'm not going to. At one moment, I was reading something in the news in Brazil, and this older man, he was, I think, in his 70s, and he was riding his bike in the countryside in a state that's full of farms, and he was a farmer, and he was riding his bike to the small town. There's never airplanes going through that area. He was riding his bike. This airplane fell on top of him and killed him. So that understanding that when your time is up, your time is up. There's nothing you can do to prevent it. Yes, there are things, you don't want to embrace things that are extremely dangerous because you might speed up the process, But the thought that I live by is that when your time is up, your time is up. So while you're here, shine that light as bright as you can. Right now, I'm seeing that there is a divide happening, whether it's politically or socially, or people are less connected. I've been observing that from almost as watching a movie. I've been seeing it, and I've been wondering why this is happening. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but I feel like there's less connections being made, strong connections. So I would say shine your light as bright as you can on issues that are important to you. Try to avoid judgment on that person or that person or that issue, because at the end of the day, I think independently of where you're coming from somewhere. You're coming from somewhere where you were taught different things by your parents, by your social circles. And for you to be judged right away because you have a certain ideology, that person that's judging you is missing out on getting to the essence of who you are. Maybe give it a second. Don't right away push somebody away just because they have tattoos or they have a nose ring. Maybe just give it a second. Maybe deep down you're going to find something that connects you more than what's different. So again, I think shining that light, being open to hearing a point of view that's different from yours, being able to connect with people on a basic level. Everybody's trying to make a living, everybody's trying to provide for their family, everybody's coming from different backgrounds and different ideologies. And if we can meet them halfway, your light is going to shine brighter. And maybe that's kind of the approach, so that when your time is up, you can look back at that moment. They say you see your whole life flash through you. Maybe you're just going to see a big flash of light instead of taking life too seriously, or embracing certain ideologies with such passion that you've become deaf to the other side.
Yeah, I feel you. I agree with pretty much everything you just said. I feel like we definitely have lost deep connections in recent years. I do think that social media is responsible for a lot of it. I don't want to talk poorly about social media because it also has done a lot of really great things.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I feel like deep connections have been lost. I think it also depends on where you live, because I'm thinking like in Brazil, from what I've seen, family is really, really important. And
Right.
all the Brazilians that I know now, they're all really, really close to their families. And I love my family. I grew up in America and I love my family, but I am not nearly talking on the phone with them as many times a week. An example is like I'll email with my dad a few times a year, and that's good for us. That's also
Mm-hmm.
unique to me. I know that
No, not
that's
really. I'll tell you this, as close as I am to my family and my dad and I will go, or before, we would go like 6 months without talking to each other.
really.
Yeah. And then we would talk, and it's spiritual agreement between us. Let's put it that way, where we understand that we have this distance. He's in Brazil, I'm here. We're both going through life and going through our daily things. And sometimes it may take a while. Sometimes it may take a while for you to be present enough to have that 2 hour conversation. When we see each other, it's like not a minute passed by. When we talk to each other, it's like a minute never passed by. But it's a spiritual contract that we have where we know he's in me, I'm in him. We're connected in a way it's almost at another level that I
Wow.
am with other people. There is no obligation to pick up the phone. There is no obligation for me to go visit. We kind of understand that this is what we're doing. There's a physical separation, but the emotional and the spiritual connection is there. But yeah, Brazilians are very close to family.
They are, but
Like
I'm so
I
happy
talk to my mom every day.
you
I call her every single day.
you have a very different relationship with your mom than you do with your dad, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Well, I have a similar relationship to my father that you have. And then with my
Uh-huh.
mom, it's my relationship is almost non-existent. That's how it is now. It's very loving, but there's not a lot.
Uh-huh.
I've always chosen quality interactions over quantity, and I've never been a fan of feeling obligated to anyone. I hate that. I don't like I'm revealing a lot about how I am with relationships. But the truth is, I want to be able to choose when I talk to someone, when I text them back, when I write back on that email, so that it feels like it's on my terms as well. I feel good about it because I made that decision. Nobody forced me. I didn't feel the pressure. I think that's especially important with those types of relationships, those deep and meaningful relationships.
Well, here's the thing, Chad. I think one belief that I have, I think as Westerners, we've been taught you got to become something, you got to make something out of your life, you got to become something. Don't follow your dreams. Follow something else, follow a straight path that will lead you to something. My family used to say, you're the black sheep of the family. The name of my company is Black Sheep.
Oh my.
So I embraced it. And the way I embraced all that is always ask the question, what makes my soul sing? What is it? Is it being creative? Is it creating something that's coming from inside me? Or is it traveling? Or is it buying a house, working on the house, making sure the garden is the way I envision? And if it doesn't make my soul sing, chances are I'm going to push it slowly. When I first moved to Texas, I had to get a job. I was moving to a new city with no connections and no jobs. So I took this job. It was great pay, creative freedom, and slowly I started noticing that we did not connect at all on a spiritual level. The product was great. It was for animals, and I'm a huge dog lover, so I thought it was going to be great. But slowly I started hearing things in the office that, I don't know, this is hurting me somewhere in here. And within 3 months, I was like, I can't do this. I cannot come here every day and hear things that are so foreign to me. I can't do it.
It
So
sounds like it wasn't not only foreign, but it was negative.
again, it didn't make my soul sing. I wasn't singing something, it wasn't a positive song. It started becoming like the blues every single day, I'm like, or a country song, where you're losing your house and your car breaks down and your dog dies and so I'm like, no, this is too much.
That's crazy that you keep referring back to, does it make my soul sing? Number one, it's crazy because the guy that I mentioned to you, who was like a father figure to me, we had this deep spiritual connection, and he's the only person whom I had such a deep connection with, died. His name was Guy. He would
Uh-huh.
ask me, what makes your soul sing? He was
Wow.
the one person in my life who asked me that question.
There you go. Two
Then you
people telling
mention
you.
it here. You didn't know that. Maybe he's talking through you. I don't know. But
Wow.
the other thing I'm thinking of is you're at this job, things are being said in the background that are foreign to you. It's not making your soul sing. And so you're like, I'm peace out. I'm out. I got to go find
Yeah.
something that is more in alignment with what makes my soul sing. Really, like that takes something. Most people are just trying to find a job that they don't hate. To
Right.
go to the other side of that spectrum and find a job that they love that's a
Hmm.
whole different thing.
Well, again, I think it's that idea of embracing change and being true to something inside you, that really makes you excited about what you're doing. So embracing change, it was the way I grew up. I was born in Rio. We moved to the north of Brazil when I was 1 year old. Then we moved to Bahia, which is kind of northeast, for 9 years. Then we went back to Rio. So there was always a lot of change in my life. That's kind of how I lived my whole life. When I moved here, I moved to Dallas first. I went to school in Miami. Then I lived in New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, San Diego, Hawaii, and now in Texas. So it's always been moving when getting to embrace change and really loving it. I truly, truly believe that if you are in alignment with your feelings, with your soul, with your values, or you just have to be in alignment and you have to trust that things do happen for a reason. Like you said, what can I learn from this situation? Can I shine more light into a situation that it will change the dynamics? And if you can't, but you trust that you're doing the right thing, one, you're not there to try to change anybody. You're not trying to impose your beliefs on anybody. You're simply not in that situation. If you choose to pursue something else, the universe kind of makes it happen. Yes, it takes a lot of effort on your part. If you don't close one door, the other one won't open.
True.
It goes like this for relationships. Like if you get stuck in a past relationship, how can you offer anything to a new relationship? You have to close that door. So the same thing goes with jobs, with a place where you live. If you move somewhere else and you're still thinking about where you were and questioning whether that was the right decision or not, but you're not really present in that moment.
Yeah, I do get that. I feel you on the relationships for sure. And then on the job, I think that has been harder for me in the past, and I stayed in jobs longer than I wanted to, even though I've
Hmm.
had a million different jobs. I knew well before I left that it wasn't the right job for me and that it was literally sucking life out of me. But I
Right.
had to pay bills. I was not of
Hmm.
that mindset where I just trusted that everything was going to work out. And it wasn't until I was older that I adopted that mindset. And I have it today where I take care of all my own bills, I pay for everything, and it feels so good. But that also means I have to earn money. And if I want to do other things, I have to pay for that. And if work is lean for whatever reason, then it just kind of opens my eyes more and it reminds me like, hey, Kat, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you have a hefty savings or not, you have to
Hmm.
do your part. You're not
Right.
just going to just receive. That's not how this works. You have
No.
to do your part as well.
Right. Well, and that is true. If you understand that, that is very true to the universe. If you don't do your part, or you keep just saying, one day I'm going to do this, or one day I'm going to do that, it kind of creates these roadblocks for you. If you don't really open yourself to being like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I think a lot of it comes from what we were saying is there's pressures from society that, oh, you're unemployed, or you're self-employed, or you're doing Uber, or you're not a doctor or a lawyer or a scientist, or you're an artist. We all feel that. But when you let go of that and say, you know, I got to pay bills, I'm going to hustle in whatever I need to do to make sure that I'm not depending on anybody else. And I'm allowing myself to tell the universe, hey, I am putting my work, but this is what I want. I want to achieve this, this, and this. That starts breaking down those roadblocks internally and spiritually, I think. You know, your
Well,
connection becomes more genuine with who you are and with the universe, you know, or with God, or however you want to put it. I think you need to trust. You don't jump out of an airplane without a parachute, right? But you trust that that parachute is going to open, right? You have that parachute. It's you. Your parachute is that internal light. You trust that and you jump and you pivot to whatever next level that you want to achieve, trusting that you are going to have that parachute that is you. Sometimes it's going to open, sometimes it's not, because you have something else to learn. You didn't fold that parachute the right way, and you might have to rely on the
the
on
second parachute.
your extra parachute.
Oh my
So
God. I love that analogy so much because I'm thinking that, yeah, that's what it takes in order to level up in your life and to achieve great things. And great things could mean whatever great means to you. But
exactly, and I think that's another point is we all have example of success. That doesn't mean that it's right for you. You touched on the effects of social media. I would say more in younger generations than us old folks here. I think there's a lot of that's being put out that people are looking up to. And when you look at what they're looking up to, it's not very positive. It's the world, right? So there's a lot of positive, a lot of negative, and a lot of just blah. And hopefully people are following things that are positive and not negative. Being aligned with who you are, you will define what success means to you or what great things are for you instead of great things for others.
I think that's a really good point, talking about social media and the impacts it has, especially on the younger generations, because I'm not so young anymore, but I also want to stay relevant.
Right.
Instead of just doing what I've always done, I need to change with the times because that's what 2025 demands. And I think that there are very few jobs where you don't succumb to social media in some format. And so I do that and I try to do it the best that I can that makes me feel like I'm making a positive impact. But I'm right there with you. A lot of the stuff that's out there is junk. It's like junk food
Right.
and it's not good for you. And it's like seemingly harmless, but No, it's not. That works its way into your subconscious. And if you're like anybody these days, you're scrolling a lot and
Yeah.
it's just constantly being fed into your mind over and over and over again. And it gets in there deeper than you think.
Right. It's more dangerous, I think, for the younger generation. Yeah, as you get older, your foundation starts to become more solid and you know who you are, or hopefully you've learned enough through life that you have solid feet on the ground. I hope.
Yeah, I know a lot of people of all different ages, and I don't think that with age that comes. I know some people in their 50s and 60s, they don't know who they are and they're pretending. And I see that of every age. And I also
Right.
see the opposite. I see young souls who have a lot of depth. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
wow, there's hope. That's
Right.
amazing. So I really think that that's individual based.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I try as hard as I can not to be scrolling or reading the news or letting outside influences how I see life. I try. I'm not saying that I don't fall victim of it sometimes because there's a lot going on in the world but I think there's a lot of good things still going on in the world. And
Oh, yeah.
what you see, what you read, if you allow yourself to be consumed by it, it will bring you down. It will bring that light that we talked about. It will dimmer that light because now you're concerned about your nephew or your niece or your friend. What's the world going to be 20 years from now? I'm not going to be around, but who knows, and you got
You're
to,
not going to be around in 20 years?
well, who knows?
You're
Again,
going to be around in 20 years.
when the time is up.
Talk to me about what makes your heart sing. What makes your soul sing?
So I would say work, definitely my wife. She's my partner in this journey. And that is who we are as a couple of trying to push us forward in the relationship and in each other's lives. So home life is very, very important. And like I said, I think the work allows me to have that focus on my home life. I work from home. My studio is at home. My clients allow me that freedom to come and go, to travel. I can pretty much work from anywhere. So having freedom to be who I am makes me sing and makes me more connected and more present on the work that I do for my clients. I think if I was working inside a company 9 to 5 or an advertising agency, which used to be super fun, I wouldn't sing as much as I sing now or create the work that I create for my clients now because of that freedom that I have, that flexibility to be like, okay, next week I'm going to take off and I'm going to work from somewhere else, or be able to take care of my dogs and in the garden. And, all this stuff means a lot to me. But on the other hand, sometimes I feel like I'm, speaking dog because I'm around my dogs and sometimes I start barking. I need human interaction sometimes, you know. So
That
yeah,
is hilarious.
yeah, because you're in your own little cave and you're not interacting as much. So sometimes I grab my laptop, I go to the coffee shop. I'm like, okay, I see humans. I can have a conversation. I can spread my wings a little bit more because if I allow work to take over and I'm just here all the time or I'm alone shooting a product or shooting something or designing something on the computer, I lose track of time. And sometimes it's been a week since I've seen anybody. So I force myself to get out. I need to remind myself to do that every once in a while. Get the computer, go to a coffee shop, or take a break and go for a run and see people, see nature. And that's about it.
Yeah. It can be that simple, right?
I think so. I usually start my day with a cup of coffee outside in the garden. And I have a pond in our yard. So I go there in the morning, I drink my coffee, I listen to the birds singing, and that starts my day. If I don't do that, if I'm rushing to get in front of the computer to read emails or do work, I feel like my day starts off in the wrong path. I don't feel as connected. So taking that moment in the morning to stay connected with nature, think about the great things that happened the day before or the week before, really feel that gratitude throughout your whole system. To me, is crucial for my day to start in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think taking breaks, taking time to really analyze your feelings, analyze your day before, and taking notes, spiritual notes or heart notes of what is good. And if you do that, the majority of the time, you're going to see that everything is somewhat good. Even the moments that are not great, they're really good for something inside of you. Whether it's a lesson, whether it's maybe I should approach this a different way, maybe I should listen more. Sometimes you get clients that are in panic mode. I need to get this done, and you need to get this done right away. And you're like, hold on, why me? Why the rush? Why all of a sudden my day has been completely disrupted and I need to get this done right away when that was not scheduled or planned? Or if you take a moment to push that reaction away from what's going on in your head and you just take a deep breath and you're like, because they need it. This is going to make their lives better. They're going to be able to go to their boss and say, hey, I accomplished something on a really tight deadline. And if you can do that for them, then all of a sudden that light in you starts to shine brighter and you don't take that as a negative thing in your day. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you're being able to give back to somebody and help somebody. Why not take that extra 10 hours and get it done, even if it's at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Little moments like that where you are testing yourself, you're outside of your comfort zone, if you will, they're good for you. There's growth in
Yeah,
that too. And
for
it's just a
sure.
matter of just shifting your perspective on that.
Yeah,
Instead of like, why me? I'm the victim here.
exactly.
Now you're saying, oh, this is an opportunity for me to help them and make their lives a little bit easier.
Exactly.
I love that. And I love that you said heart notes. Take heart notes. I'm going to start doing that. I love that. I sometimes am guilty, and the first thing I'll do is when I wake up, I look at my phone and I check social media, I check my emails, and I'm just thinking, you know what? That's going to happen regardless. Don't start your day that way, Kat. Make your cup of chai tea, sit down, and what I do, this might sound a little woo-woo, but I talk to my plants. Because I live in an apartment in Los Angeles, I am just surrounded by plants and I talk to them.
There you go.
So
You
I'm going
got
to
it.
do
You
that.
got it. Yeah, make that connection
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
feel you on the nature. If you're not lucky enough to have an area where you have this beautiful backyard and the birds and all of that, bring nature to you. Put plants inside of your house. I
For
have a
sure.
hummingbird feeder on my balcony, and so I bring nature to me.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Ben, this
Yeah.
has been a pleasure. I have loved reconnecting with you. I feel like you can check that box off for having human connection today.
There you go. It's awesome.
Thank
Loved
you
it.
so much.
Thank you.